How are you guys? Welcome back to Wargaming China. The channel, well, you know by now, I platform my understandings of the War of Resistance against Japanese aggression in China from 1931 to 1945. Doing it mainly for wargamers, modelers, toy soldiers enthusiasts, and anybody who likes a bit of obscure history. Now, today, if you can take your eyes off my beautiful Thornycroft coastal motorboat, which I built, and which is a video on, just check the playlist and look up War on the Rivers. You can find a video there. But today I'm going to have a little chat about the Hotchkiss QF 3-pounder 47mm. Now, quick firing is a term that came into use towards the end of the 19th century, and it means QF means quick firing, and that means a gun that absorbs its recoil through buffers, recoil system, or other means, so that it doesn't roll back and have to be relayed after each shot. Now, the reason that we can have quick firing guns is because Mr. Benjamin Berkeley, an American born in 1826, who died in 1886, was the inventor and fabricator of the first metallic cartridge. The first metallic cartridge for a field gun that was tough enough for naval service, or for military service. And indeed, his first gun when he was working for Hotchkiss, because he had to leave America, because there was no work opportunities from there after the American Civil War, even though he had successfully designed a screw gun that had been used, a rifled gun that had been used in the Mexican-American War after the American Civil War. Like many other gun designers from America, he thought there's better opportunities in Europe. So he found himself in 1876 working for Hotchkiss, where he designed the revolving cannon, Hotchkiss revolving cannon, which was a masterpiece because it was a clip-fed revolving automatic cannon, and you could only make that because of Mr. Berkeley's cartridge. Now, Mr. Berkeley experimented further on with that cartridge. In 1886, still working for Hotchkiss, he designed, or Hotchkiss released, the 3-pounder QF 47mm gun. Now, it was a big seller. It was made by so many different arsenals. Skoda, Vickers, Maxim, Driggs Seabury, Nordenfelt, Vickers, all had Armstrong, all had a crack at making this gun, all made it under license, and it ended up serving with the world's navies, because the Italian Navy, the Russian Navy, Japanese Navy, and of course, it wouldn't be on this channel if it didn't end up serving in the Chinese Navy. Just have a drink. Now, although the gun was started entering service in 1886, I couldn't find it mounted on a Chinese vessel until the commissioning of the Yuan class gunboat, and they built 4 of them, and part of the complement of our armament was 4 3-pounders each. So in total in service in China between 1904 and 1932, they mounted just over 2 dozen of these guns on various ships of the Chinese Navy. And that includes obviously warlord fleets, and these 2 which I had built for Madang had come from the young Marshal's former Navy. And if you look in the books, it'll tell you this gun was in service from 1886 to around about 1950. And the story is, it starts out as the late 19th century was the era of the great battleships, but it was also the dawn of the torpedo boat. And big battleships that were very expensive could be knocked out by very cheap torpedo boats. And indeed, Channel ports of France were stuffed full of torpedo boats in the advent of war with the UK, so they could nip across the channel and sink the Royal Navy fleet. So to prevent that, These guns were mounted on all classes of Navy ships, as I said, across the world's navies. And when they first came in service, they were as anti-torpedo boats. And they were very effective at that, firing a 47mm shell at 570 meters a second. And the projectile weighed 1.5 kilos, 3 pounds. There was also a 6-pounder, which was a 57mm projectile, and that was also in service with the Chinese Navy. But back to this. So I've built these for Madang. Now, when these guns first came, as I said, they were used for torpedo boats. They were in service for 30 odd years before World War One came around, and they were quickly modified into an anti-aircraft role. But they were, by the end of World War One, certainly, they had shown that they were quite insufficient for that role. So then, most of them found themselves transferred to coastal defence. And the books will tell you, as I said, 1950 they're out of service. But actually, these guns are not out of service. These guns are still in service with many navies of the world, or many municipalities of the world, because these guns are now used as signal guns and ceremonial guns. There are 3 of these based in Sydney at the Royal Australian Navy base at Garden Island, and they are a saluting battery. And you know, when they fire, I believe they're serviced by sailors. So these guns, in a ceremonial role, are still in service globally. If you ever go to Singapore, the midday shot is fired from a 3-pounder. So it's 2023 now, 1886. That is a hell of a long time in service. Still being reliable, and it's a very good testament to the gun, isn't it? So in Chinese service, I said they ended up as coastal defence guns. There were 8 of these at Madang, which is why I've built them. And now I'm going to tell you what I built them from. I was walking down the street a while back, and there was a Ziploc bag with 2 caps in it. And somebody has since told me that these are electrical caps, and a Sparky will tie off his wires and then screw this over the connection so that, you know, they can't be touched. So that was what the base I used, and luckily enough for me, it's quite similar to the Chinese mount. Then it was a nylon washer at the base, the top of the cap. Then this is I think it's a spare gun off the Plastic Soldier Company Panzer III, and I had to extend it a little bit. I put a breech block on from an Airfix Pack 40. The recoil guard is a piece of cardboard. The recoil chambers are just circular plastic sprue, and the wheel, the elevation wheel, is the steering wheel off an Opel Blitz, Airfix Opel Blitz truck. It didn't take me long to make them, a couple of hours. And as I said, you're going to be seeing these in my next day in my game coming up soon. I'm working on now, the Madang Fortress. Hope you like that. Hope you have smashed that like button already. Hope you think it was worth subscribing for. Thank you. See ya.